investigators from the NTSB arrived on scene the next morning. One of the first things they noticed was the lack of fuel spillage into the ground. When the tanks were dipped, 1 gallon was found in the right tank and less than half a gallon in the left. Zachary Collins was one of the investigators assigned to the November 4-5 X-ray Sierra accident case.
We spent a bit more time than normal on this accident. It was clearly fuel exhaustion, but under strange circumstances. This was no low-time, inexperienced pilot on a rented airplane.
To begin to understand what happened to 5 X-ray Sierra, investigators had to go back and examine the events leading up to the flight. What they find is disturbing. Dale and Pauline had originally planned to fly up to Poughkeepsie to attend a wedding, then fly back to Hilton Head a week later to close up their condo for the season. They had also planned to bring their housekeeper from Hilton Head back up to Poughkeepsie the following week as well, but due to the impending bad weather, the couple decided to pack up everything early and make the 2 trips in one. After the couple had packed up, Dale filed a flight plan stating that he was carrying 5 hours and 30 minutes of fuel for the flight. However, after calculating the aircraft's weight, he quickly realized that, with the extra cargo and passenger, the aircraft would be over max gross weight. Dale decides to contact the FBO to drain 35 gallons of fuel from the tanks of 5 X-ray Sierra before departure. This change is never filed with air traffic control. After some asking around, investigators soon find that bringing the bare minimum in terms of fuel was not an irregular occurrence. Mitch Greer is the line manager at the Poughkeepsie FBO and knew Dale Harrington well.
Dale always ran that barrel near damn empty, especially when he come back from South Carolina. It's as if he knew exactly how much there would be in a tank and played game with himself. It's as if he was trying to see how far he could go without hitting rock bottom.
Accidents like this one never really make sense to us or anyone. An experienced pilot, easy IFR, well-equipped airplane in perfect conditions. Familiar territory, not much traffic. Perfect airports practically right under his nose, and on the ball controllers. Doesn't really get any better than that.
The focus of the investigation is now centered around the pilot in command. While no one can ever possibly know why Dale liked to flirt with danger, opting to fly with inadequate reserves and contingencies, why did he lie to ATC about his fuel situation when things started to go wrong? Tom Bates was one of the controllers working in New York Center the night of the crash.
What we can't figure out is why the pilot apparently lied to everyone about his remaining fuel. He had to know that he couldn't make it to Poughkeepsie from where he was.
I mean, he lied to all of the controllers, starting with when he filed his flight plan. He had no reason to do that. He wasn't rushing anywhere, but he did lie. He's never done something like that before. Something had to be wrong.
Toxicology reports came back negative. Dale Harrington was not under the influence of any alcohol, drugs, or medications. He was not a smoker either. There is one thing, though, that not even the fittest pilot can avoid: hypoxia.
There's the possibility that the 9,000-foot altitude for 3+ hours at night could have had an effect. For sure, this would have to have a negative influence on his mental dexterity, his mental quickness and alertness, and most of all, his judgment.
While not necessarily the sole cause of Dale's bizarre behavior, the effects of a long night flight at high altitude without supplemental oxygen most certainly had some effect on the people aboard 5 X-ray Sierra. Then there's the communicative aspect.
This might not be a simple fuel exhaustion pilot error accident after all. It could have been a pilot who found himself confronted by an unexpected change or two in something, and then found himself being badgered, in his opinion, by several well-intended but possibly overbearing controllers.
While both the investigative team and the air traffic control agencies saw the handling done by ATC as extremely efficient and professional, given the information they had available, it is possible that Dale, affected by hypoxia and wanting to make it home in one trip, just found their help frustrating and counterproductive.
There's a point in recordings where Mr. Harrington is clearly irritated with Teterboro approach. It comes just after receiving an approach clearance he quickly refuses, and after being questioned about his fuel reserve by the controller. It was a bit of an awkward exchange.
The communication coming from Dale was not clear either.
We knew that something was wrong when first contact was made. The pilot's requests made no sense. He was IFR flying into known low ceiling conditions, and yet he asked for permission to descend below the clouds. His tracking slip indicated enough fuel to make it to his destination, so the controllers did not assess that as a risk. He just sounded confused, disoriented, and unable to continue the flight. They were handling him accordingly.
We eventually came up with this sort of dual personality. On one hand, he was a good IFR twin pilot, but on the other, he also had some quirks. Like never filling his tanks until they were less than a quarter full, or filing a flight plan with more or less fuel than he actually had on board, sometimes much more. He would even go so far as to brag about bringing his Baron home on nearly fumes.
The final report is eventually issued by the NTSB. Their conclusion? Fuel exhaustion, caused by pilot error. A deliberate misfiling of the fuel in the flight plan is also noted as a key contributor.